Hi, today we're going to talk about how to use UTM parameters in Marketo and how to capture them on your Marketo forms, which works whether you're using Marketo landing pages or if you're embedding your Marketo forms on other website pages and landing pages. If you're not super familiar with UTM parameters, I have a quick guide on my website that'll explain really how to use them and how to create them. So today's going to be really Marketo specific. A prerequisite for this is that you're going to need to make sure you have fields in Marketo that are set to grab the parameters. So if you're going to be grabbing UTM parameter, you need a field to hold UTM parameter. The best way to create fields is always to create them in your CRM or Salesforce if that's what you're using first. Then they'll automatically populate in Marketo and you don't have to worry about them being mapped correctly. It's taken care of by doing it that way. So let's go ahead and look at Marketo on the screen. Step one is to add the hidden fields to your form. I've already created a program here. I've got a landing page built. That's the landing page that's holding this contact form. And then I've got a confirmation page that acts as a thank you when you fill out the form. So let's go edit the form and add the hidden fields. The name of your field may be different than your actual UTM parameters. For example, I know that AssetWorks uses a different type of field. So they use campaign medium instead of UTM medium. It's all fine. For the most part, everything works exactly the same. But you need to know what field is going to hold that UTM parameter. And your field type, you need to change it to hidden. Form prefill should stay enabled. And then you're going to edit what goes in that field based on the autofill. So you want to get the value from the URL parameter. And let's go here to what the UTM parameter architecture is that I talk about in the quick guide. This here, the UTM medium, is actually the parameter name. So whenever this appears, it's saying that this medium is social. So I could change that to be advertising or email blast, whatever it might be. So here is the parameter name and here's the value. So for Marketo, you want the parameter name. So we're going to capture UTM medium. It needs to be typed in exactly as it is. Now, this default value, if someone were to come to this landing page directly and there were no UTM parameters in the URL and they filled out the form, if this default value is empty, nothing would go in that field. It would just be empty. But as you know, when you're trying to make the decision whether fields should be overwritten or whether they should be locked down and blocked for updates, you may want to have a default value. I like to put something general like not gathered. I don't like to make an assumption that it's organic or direct because you're not really sure how that UTM or that URL came to be. So for me, I always put not gathered or unknown. So you do that for each of the URM or the UTM values that you intend to gather. Hidden. And again, you can do whatever you like with these. It can be used for the basic ones, campaign, medium, and source, or you can use it for something like product or client. I recommend being consistent with how you put the default values in as well. So then just finish and approve and close this. And then you'll have to come into the landing page and approve the draft. Step 2 is to actually create the URL for sharing. What I love about using UTM codes is it allows you to create one single landing page and then create lots of unique addresses that drive people to that same page. And by putting those hidden fields on the form, you're able to tell where that form came from. Again, we're going to go back here to the parameter here. So if you want to know that you shared it on social, Facebook, and blog, what you need to do is create a URL that includes these. One of the easiest ways to do this is using the Google URL Builder. So you would come here, you want to just copy this, you would paste this in here, and then for your source, let's use the example that we're sharing it on Google, or excuse me, our source would be Google. Our medium is pay per click, and our campaign name, we will come up with something new. We're just going to call it August test. What this does is it creates a URL for you so that you don't have to do anything there to build it. So it puts all of that in. So you just select it all and copy. I always recommend when you're testing using private windows or incognito windows that you don't run into any sort of Marketo cookie issues while you're testing, as you definitely know that'll see. So let's go ahead and get started. I always like to use something more unique than just test, but so we'll use Michael Bluth if you are an Arrested Development fan. And I use my own email with a Gmail alias just to keep track, Michael. That way I'm not making up a fake email that might go to someone. So then you click submit, and then it goes to the thank you page. So back in Marketo, I've already created a smart list that looks for people who have filled out the form. And so it's just looking for anybody who filled that out. I've done a little bit of testing yesterday. So we'll go through here, and you can see Michael Bluth filled out the form. He came from a PPC campaign, he came from Google, and he came from the August test. So let's do another test really quick. And one thing I wanted to show you is that Marketo actually has a URL builder as well. So you can come to landing page actions, URL tools, URL builder. Now, I have noticed that there are sometimes problems, and it does a problem here, so you'll see what it looks like if your field names aren't exactly the same as your UTM parameter names, but I'm still going to do this. So let's imagine that we are trying to reach a broad audience, and so we're going to share this on, we're going to do CPC, but this time instead of Google, we're sharing it on Bing, and our August campaign name was August Test. So what it does is it actually builds you, just like Google did, this landing page. What's cool is that it's looking for the hidden fields that are already on the form. So if there were no hidden fields on the form, you wouldn't actually be able to do a specific URL builder. So I'm going to copy this. I'm actually going to go into Chrome, just do it a little bit different with a new incognito window. As you can see, the URL looks totally fine. So let's use Job. And I'm going to make note that I did this one on Chrome, just in case. Sometimes if you have comments, you can use that when you're testing. So we'll come back here to our smart list, and we'll see that Job actually came in here. It came through correctly. This time it worked fine. I had some problems yesterday where it actually doubled up on the campaign source and the campaign name, and I'm not quite sure why that did that. What if someone came to your website that was influenced by one of the URLs you shared that had UTM parameters, but they didn't fill out a form? Marketo's actually got you covered there. There's a field called Original Refer, and the very first time someone visits your web page or landing page, the very first visit is the only time this gets captured. The URL that they typed in or that they visited goes there. So if they were influenced by one of your pay-per-click links that you had put in a UTM parameter, UTM medium equals CPC or PPC, then you would be able to tell because their original refer would contain that. And where this becomes really useful is that you can actually do smart lists, or you can look it up in a smart campaign. But it's helpful to just see influence. So I'm going to do influence by pay-per-click. Now there might be people in this database that were influenced by pay-per-click other than the testing ones that I was doing. So what you would do is you just type in original refer, and you do contains, and we'll do PPC. And so this is going to show us everybody that was influenced by one of the links that we shared that included PPC in the UTM parameters. It's really helpful if you get in the habit of always sharing links with your UTM parameters filled out, whether it's on social media or paid advertising or simply in your email blast. It allows you to check that. It went back to the default view. I've got a view that's called form fill fields that shows the fields that were on the form as well as original refer. But what you can see here is that there were other times that people came to the website influenced by links that were specifically shared. So what you can do is here, as I'm going to click here on this Mickey Mouse lead from yesterday. Take a second. And you go to the activity log. The very first time they visit a landing page, you can see this was the page they visited. If you click this, right there, it shows you what their query parameters were. So that's how I visited yesterday when I was testing. You can see that I was on a Mac. all this stuff. So this is another cool feature if you're trying to kind of determine where your traffic's coming from, that you can do this. And the one caveat that I give is that this records the original visit only. It's not going to track it for every single one. So you can query it for the original visit. Other times you will find out, you can kind of look at the web page, that if you saw visited web page, you could do that link and you could probably see the UTM parameters there, but you wouldn't be able to query it for subsequent visits, only for the very first time. So I hope that helps you, and I hope this was useful for you. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me on social media or visit my website where there's a form that you could add questions as well. So thanks so much.